Hello, thank you so much for coming to this video today. I really appreciate it. This video is the Cardano Aura. It's the 16th episode of the podcast, and today I have Micky from World Mobile on. And you know, the Cardano Aura is about bringing the people on that provide value to the Cardano blockchain, but World Mobile is not just providing value to Cardano. They plan to provide some real value to the world using Cardano and also inherently some value to Cardano. I really think you guys are going to enjoy this podcast, and I'm excited for everything else that's coming from World Mobile. So make sure you stay till the very end. If you do enjoy it, make sure you click that like button and comment down below. Also click the notification bell and click all. It does really support the channel. And then also delegating to my Stakepool. Bloom pays awesome rewards, and we have from the beginning. We actually minted the 8th block ever on the Cardano blockchain. So we've been here from the beginning. We'll be here till your end. And we also pay Bloom tokens on top of your ADA rewards for staking to Bloom. I also have a sponsor of this video, and the sponsor of this video today is Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creatives where millions come together to take their next step in their creative journey. Skillshare offers thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people on topics including illustration, design, photography, video, freelancing, and more. And you guys know Goguen with Cardano is coming out soon, and there are a couple classes that actually could help you with Goguen. I'll list off some of them. Freelance and entrepreneurship. I obviously need to be an entrepreneur to build a business on the blockchain. Web development, for the UI. There's also a UI and UX course as well, so a bit of UI and UX, a bit of graphic design and web development may help you a little bit more with Goguen. So I also want to mention that they are a sponsor of this podcast, and Skillshare is an online community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity. It's curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads, and there will always be launching new premium classes so you can stay focused and follow wherever creativity takes you. And I also have something special for you guys today. The first 1,000 people that use this link down below will get 1 free month of a trial of Skillshare, so full access to the premium courses. And you guys can just click that in the first 2 links in the description down below. But let's jump into the podcast today. Hello, thank you guys so much for coming to this podcast today. This is the Cardano Aura. I look around for any great projects that are coming to the Cardano ecosystem, and World Mobile is one of the projects that you guys are most excited about. Every week in the AMAs, you guys ask, what's going on with World Mobile? What are they doing? How are they going to connect the unconnected? And today we're going to finally figure that out. So can you introduce yourself for us today?
Hey, Big Pay. Yeah, I'm Micky Wilkins. I'm the CEO and the founder of World Mobile.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on today, man.
You're more than welcome. I've been looking forward to this.
So for people that haven't really heard of World Mobile, people that have really just got into cryptocurrency and also Cardano, what is World Mobile?
World Mobile is a mobile network built on an alternative spectrum using blockchain to its maximum capability in order to be able to not just connect the unconnected, but give them meaningful internet and access to a brand new world, something that they don't have right now.
So where are you guys currently operating?
So we're in East Africa, in Tanzania. We have our full licenses for mainland and Zanzibar. We're just about to roll out in Zanzibar in the next 3 to 4 weeks. We have equipment being shipped in the air and at sea that's landing there. We have a film crew that will be going there to document this piece of history. And within the next 3-4 months, we'll be connecting people, hopefully 100,000 people to our blockchain, to the World Mobile Network, and giving them each a self-governed digital ID.
That's awesome. Just in the next few months.
Yeah, this has been happening for 3 years, man. So we've been working with IOHK all the way since early 2019. We went over to Miami. We did some work sessions, and we built some SOWs, and we became good friends with Carlos Vargas and John O'Connor. And then ever since then, it's been an evolution of a product. To bank the unbanked, you need digital ID, but to make digital ID really useful and make banking really useful, first of all, you need connectivity. So connect the unconnected, bank the unbanked, perfect synergy, and Cardano is the perfect chain to build out.
Yeah, so those decentralized identities, what chain, in the next few months are those identities actually going to be on? Is that going to be on the Cardano blockchain or, a different blockchain?
It will be an MVP, but it will definitely be settling on the Cardano blockchain. Yeah, that's something we're working for right now. We hope to have the full mainnet before the end of this year, beginning of next year out. But we definitely have an MVP because we want everybody to see what this can do for Cardano, what this can do for IOHK, what this can do for World Mobile. But ultimately, we
Can
want
you
the world
explain what
to
an
be
MVP is? I'm sorry, I don't know what that means.
a minimal viable product. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
interacting with a Tala Prism. Excuse me, sorry. Too much lingo. So yeah,
No
we'll have
worries.
a product that is very basic, that works efficiently to provide digital identity, and then we'll migrate towards the more complex projects and final products in November, December of this year.
Yeah, well, I have to say I'm very impressed, and it shows that you guys have been working since 2019. I have a lot of people that are, just now starting to build their projects and, envisioning this. And you guys are actually, going to have 100,000 users, with decentralized identities within the next few months. I mean, that's amazing. Can we expand a little bit further on your roadmap, step by step? What are you guys looking at, towards the end of this year and then also, the roadmap for next year?
Okay, so we already have identified 12 proof of concepts. Can I step back a little bit and tell you what we have done already in Tanzania, and then you'll understand
That's perfect. Yeah.
where we're going for this. So with our partner RJ, we connected university using Wi-Fi mesh and TV whitespace. We connected around 50,000 students, really pushed the limits of what we could do. Surrounding businesses and anyone within a 25 to 30 kilometer range could pick up on our connectivity. But of course, this was only feasibility and proof of concept, and we couldn't take it commercial at this point. So we then decided that we were going to go and test some other case studies. We worked with local companies and the regulator to go and connect a village. We connected a village with two air nodes, one each on either side. This air node was an oversized solar panel. Underneath that, there's a street light. Underneath that, there's a wireless access point. Then there's the Raspberry Pi that runs the World Mobile chain. Then there's a transcoder transponder attached to that that connects the TV whitespace or whatever spectrum we're shooting across. And then finally, there's the second life batteries on the bottom of these devices. Mass, they cost about $5,000 to produce. We laid it down and we wanted to come back a month later. But then, as you know, the world got hit with coronavirus, COVID-19. Everyone got scared. We got locked down. We couldn't travel. And for 9 months, we couldn't get back to Tanzania. So when we could get back, wow, what we saw there was unbelievable. So we saw from these proof of concepts, again, not commercial, not using any digital ID, not using any currency, just connectivity, a street light. The whole village transforms. It grew by 100% of the population. The fishermen were able to make 5 to 10 times more for their catch because they were able to plug in an ice machine into the power outlet of the air node, and they were able to communicate with traders and merchants from China and export their crabs to China and export their stuff to Zanzibar. The market ladies were able to work later into the night because at the equator it gets dark at exactly the same time or very similar time every night. You don't have street lights, very dangerous to be out at night time, but all of a sudden with street lights, the high street, the major high street became actually a high street, and shops opened 3 times the pubs, and it totally changed everything. So from that moment, we said, okay, well, we knew what this was going to do at university. We knew what meaningful internet would do to students and the businesses around, and we expected that. But we didn't really understand the impact of just providing internet and a light and power source would do to a village. So at that point, we said, hey, we're going full blast here. We're going all out. So we brought all of this back to IOHK, showed them what we were doing, and we turned up the gear and turned up the speed. So yeah, this is where we were.
Yeah, that's very impressive. In such a short amount of time. You said 9 months that, it increased, a lot of forms of production and actually grew the city so quickly. It's crazy that when you give, people the tools to better their life, that's the first thing that they do.
Yeah, they loved it. There was no doubt about it. Average age of Africa is 19.7 years old. This is a country that's completely hungry for connectivity. They have mobile devices. It's their number one choice of entertainment. Their source of light at nighttime, potentially. Their radio, they charge it when they go to work. They come back, they download their stuff whilst they're at work. They come back and they're watching that in their house. All of a sudden, you bring really cheap internet outside their house. You bring street light. You bring a power source. You're transforming everything. And when you say proof of concept, when you say what are we doing, what's on the roadmap? So we have 12 other countries on the roadmap as proof of concepts. We're looking, they're very deeply, very close to finishing the negotiations for a massive proof of concept in another East African country, Kenya. We're looking at Uganda. We're looking at Botswana. We've just been invited into Nigeria. We're up to Gambia, Senegal. This is a product that's in high demand. This is something that if we can actually achieve what we say we can achieve over the next 3 to 4 months, then we have to scale down. We have to slow down because the invites are already coming in through the door from nation states every other week, or from certain states in East African countries that are saying, look, come, we need you. We need this cheaper internet. We need this faster internet. We need the digital identity. We need a new system. And, we watch the Africa special and we think you can do it for us. So it's exciting. The next 12 months are going to be huge. There's going to be major announcements from sports partnerships, and there's going to be major announcements from other countries, and it's going to be explosive.
That is very exciting. Technically, what did you guys learn, from those 9 months that you were away? Like, is there any like technical, enhancements that you guys are making to, the future, devices that you set up? Or did you guys already kind of have that down before you did it? Or
so Andrew Soper. Andrew is he's a co-founder. I've known him for 20 years. I went to university with him. Very, very dear friend of mine. He's got a twin brother called Nick. He also heads one of our departments. Andrew's day-to-day job is installing solar power and renewable energy for villages, but also for mobile network operators. So there were no surprises for us. We know how to do this. RJ, his day-to-day job is building mesh networks. And he builds mesh networks for Microsoft and was part of the USAID program. So the pioneers in the space have utilized RJ's skill set and his team's skill set to do it. So what we learned was the village grew. That's what we learned. The technology's been existing for many years. The implementation has existed, not the blockchain part. This is something that we're bringing and adding to the equation of telecom and making telecom, taking it away from legacy to be a new standard. But yeah, what we learned was the village. We learned that everybody that could jumped onto the network and they tried the best to transform their lives.
And
that was the biggest learning.
So that proof of concept, that's called an Earth node. That's what you guys label those?
That was called an air node. That's called an air node. The Earth node is the computational layer. So that's software you download to a server with particular specifications. It has three modules to simplify it inside. One is the Telecom module. This processes securely encrypted and unencrypted calls. This does SMSs and messages. This does file storage and many other telecom things. The second module is the InterNodeAPI, and that talks to the Telecom module and then spits out and requests whatever information that needs to be pumped to the World Mobile Chain. And the third node is the blockchain element, which is Cardano, the World Mobile Chain. And that Earth node is available for anybody to download without restriction, without location. And there's approximately 1,000 of those Earth nodes that will be released over the next couple of years. And these will be a crucial part of our element. And then if you want me to talk about the other node, there's one final node other than the air nodes and the Earth nodes. There's the Aether node. And the Aether node is a massive multi-rack server that will sit inside a country that will be operated by a qualified person, by a legitimate person that's been KYC'd, and this costs a couple of $1 million. And this is the node that talks to the legacy networks, because there's no point in having a mobile network that's just closed source. You've got to have one that is open to communicate with the other 1,000 mobile network operators that exist on the planet.
So what advantages does your infrastructure that you're building have over current infrastructure in the United States? Are the people of Africa going to be far ahead of us as far as telecom infrastructure because of the lack of bureaucracy there that allows you to actually place these?
Okay, by using a different spectrum, we already come and can approach a different market. So right now you're using Wi-Fi, if I'm not mistaken. I'm also using Wi-Fi. Most of the world, when out of choice, is connected to Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So what's massively different about World Mobile to the existing mobile network operators is that we use an alternative spectrum or alternative spectrums to deliver the connectivity at the lowest cost. So from that perspective, from cheap internet and super fast internet, yeah, we're going to be far ahead of what the United States is. I mean, everyone talks about 5G. Why are we talking about 5G when half the world's unconnected? When every 1 in 2 people can't get onto the big pay show? When every, 1 in 2 people can't go and read the Michael Saylor rants about Bitcoin? And it doesn't make any sense. So 5G needs to stay back. And the advancements beyond just the connectivity and the efficiency and the energy usage of these mobile networks compared to what exists today, this will be the new standard. And I'm very sure that other mobile network operators will build similar or come to rent the World Mobile software and be part of the World Mobile network. In terms of your privacy, Yeah, man. I'm sorry to tell you, but you know, privacy doesn't exist for us. The mobile network operator knows everything that we do. They know when we go to the toilet. They know when we travel to the shop. They know who our friends are, who our friends' friends are. They know what we type even before we send it to Google. They know everything. So in terms of freedom and self dignity, then this is a whole new ballgame. This is where
And it's
for the
because of the
first time,
encryption.
it's because mobile network operators can't make money. They don't know how to make money anymore. They can't make money from voice because WhatsApp took it, Discord took it, everyone took it. They can't make money from messages because WhatsApp took it, Skype took it, and you know people now message each other with OTT apps. So how do they make money? They make money by making sure that they don't encrypt you, so that they can steal your data, so they can profile you, so they can sell it to the highest bidder. And that sucks, man. But that's the way they have to survive, and that's the way they have to make their shareholders. But they don't
Is that a
really want
large
to do
portion
that.
of their profit? Is data from their users?
Nearly all of it. Why do you think that mobile network operators don't cooperate to share data? Because data is gold, and when you can sell off someone's data, that's how they make their money. This is fact. This is not speculation. So what we do at the World Mobile Chain is the reason I invented the World Mobile Chain initially, which is the software that runs on World Mobile, is for privacy. I saw what was happening. I said, I'm not up for this. This is wrong. So I spent a year developing a privacy solution that was incredible. And then I woke up one night in a cold sweat and said, "Oh my God, I don't have the hundreds of millions of dollars that I need to compete against these big companies in marketing alone." And the institutions, they're not going to care about privacy. They're too busy using Zoom and WhatsApp like me and everybody else. So then I thought, okay, where can I bring this that people are really going to appreciate having their self-data governance, their control of their own life, and at least if someone's storing information of them, it's less valuable because we have that same information too. So then I recalled my last 15 years of work and I said, hold on, I know how to connect people. I know how to use off the shelf equipment to be able to go and connect the most rural places really cheap. If I can couple that with privacy at default, so the first time someone downloads the World Mobile app on their phone, they own their own data, not their data that they browse with, their own data, your own digital imprint of yourself, then whoa, I've achieved something here and I can reset the system. And when we see 1 billion people owning their own data, all of a sudden we're on the back foot, right? As the Western world. And now we'll stand up for what we believe in and we won't be put in our box and we'll say, okay, that data's mine. I want to see what you've got on me. I want to know everything and I want to own it myself. Now, I would never sell my data because I think that's like selling my body or my digital body. But I would accept the fact that other people may want to do other things with their data. What's true is that it shouldn't be taken behind our back. It shouldn't be sold to the highest bidder. And that's what's happening, man. Make no doubt about it. Google, Facebook, they're also doing the same, you know, big tech
Yeah,
companies.
you know, I've always seen it with the big tech companies, and you know, but I've never really thought about the telecoms industry also doing it.
How else are they going to make money? They've got to, you know, they work for multiple shareholders that they used to making hundreds of millions of dollars profit annually. You know, those revenues just fallen out in the last 10 years with the OTT apps, right? So it's not really their fault. It's wrong what they're doing 100%, but it's not their fault. When they're presented with another solution to make money, which is this open marketplace, this financial inclusion, which is what we're building with IOHK and Cardano, this gateway to services and access and banking, the same tools as we have, they won't need to make money from taking people's data. And actually, they won't be able to make money from taking people's data because we'll own the same as they own. And when you both have it, it's not as valuable as when just one party has it.
You know, that's there's just something incredible about, you know, you setting up one of these nodes in a village, and you know they have better encryption and privacy than we do in Western worlds.
And the nicest thing is that for the regulator, we're also a dream come true because right now the regulator has to, in some cases, fight the mobile network operators. Certainly in emerging markets, mobile network operators make up a lot of the revenue. So you just don't fight with them. You don't argue with them. There's no billing system in place. That is accountable. Now the regulator, when we come into a country and we say, look, first of all, we want a license. You know, they gulp. They say, okay, another person coming in to compete against the other 5 people. How are we going to award this? They want competition. They want all these things. The regulators, in nearly every case, you know, their job is to make sure that the country is as connected as possible. So we come in going after the unconnected. There's a massive smile immediately. They say, okay, fool, we don't have to. You know, there's no competition here, and you're doing something that is intrinsically my responsibility and my role. And then when you come to the regulator and we say, actually, look, regulator, here's a presentation. we're the first mobile network that gives people their own data. But as a regulator, you also have access to this. But in order to access this, you need to press 1, 2, 3 and prove that you have the right to access this. The regulator now doesn't have to jump through hoops to catch a terrorist or to catch a pedophile. And if the regulator or whoever it is in future systems missteps or misplaces, or you have a corrupt government, and there are corrupt governments all around the world, they're going to get caught. They're going to get caught snooping on your files and my files. It might not be today or tomorrow or the next day, but when you create these systems and you create immutability and transparency spread across the Cardano network and other blockchains, all of a sudden, each government that takes over from the last, what will they do? They won't be auditing books that are there to be fixed. They'll be auditing the blockchain, and they'll say, okay, well, there was 357 cases this year where our citizens were unlawfully accessed. Why? That doesn't exist now. There's no record of this. It's all so we see a new, better mobile network that suits everybody, that will do away with many of the inefficiencies that the world has today in telecommunications and in further deeper.
That's very inspiring. Living in the United States, I almost felt that it's a lost cause, my data. It's just, I'm pretty young. So from the moment I was born, pictures of me were being posted online, my data through the ISP, almost through everything is just, it's all out there. Even when I go to order a pizza, my name, my email, my phone, everything's attached. I really look forward to the future when we'll have the ability, when we're ordering a pizza, just be able to sign something with private keys that has my address attached to it. And they only get it for that moment, before they ship it to our house.
And that if they've got it, then it's transparent what they're doing with it. There we go. So if you gave them permission to access your data, that's fine. It's acceptable. You need to for Domino's, where they need to know where you live. They need to know you. But that they've got that. You gave them permission to access that.
Mm-hmm. Whereas most of the data we don't even know.
Have we lost the internet?
Hey, sorry about that. I've been having some internet issues since I moved to Florida, and I think a guy just came out to fix the line out there. So we're on a hotspot now. It'll work for sure now. But so to pick up where we left off, my next curiosity is, can other people, set up one of these nodes, or is it really, does everyone have to go through, World Mobile to join the network?
Okay. The whole idea of World Mobile is that people will bring their own devices in the end. People will be able to order off-the-shelf equipment, be able to plug it in, construct their own nodes, and they'll be able to be part of a sharing economy. And they'll be able to take part of the telecommunications world that they couldn't before. In the beginning, obviously, we need to show the way. We need to show that off-the-shelf equipment can connect millions of people. We need to refine and make it the best possible solution. Right now, we've got an Anode down to an Anode that will serve around 200 or 300 people, down to about $5,000, $6,000. But there's also Anodes that are smaller, that cost $400, $500 that can connect to the network as well. So yeah, in the end, we'd hope that the way for World Mobile to be explosive and to bring into the hundreds of millions of billions of users is not for us to manage the whole process. The way is to be agnostic and to allow people to plug and play their own hardware into the network. Now, the way that we've built the tokenomics is that rewards are given based on the network performing properly. So the more uptime, the speed, the better the connectivity, the better the line of sight, the better the uptake, then the less the jitter, the less the greater the ping. The better the setup is, the better the reward of these Anodes. So people are truly incentivized, and we've brought it in at a price where nobody was ever able to enter the telecom market like this before. Just like Uber, you weren't able to enter the taxi market here in Spain, for example. You want to buy a taxi license, 200,000 euros. You can afford 200,000 euros. You have to have work very hard or to buy a license. Then all of a sudden Uber come along. There we go. What do you need? You need an application, you need a phone, and you need a specific type of car that you can then be branded, and you can be a taxi driver, and you can be part of this huge economy that you couldn't be part of before. Airbnb, the same. Where you go to hotels, you take a family away, you can't wash, you have to rely on the €8 or $8 for a pair of socks and all of a sudden Airbnb came along and they let every house owner say, hey, I want to rent my house out. So they were able to rent their house out, and they were able to become the hotel and be part of the tourism economy, part of the accommodation economy. So
Yeah.
World Mobile is the same. And the only way to achieve that is by allowing people, don't lock them into our own products, don't lock them into our own, that, they can only buy from World Mobile. Allow them to bring their own products, recycle them, allow them to build their own networks. And that's how you'll get growth that is explosive and bring on the billions of users. It's not our network, it's the network of the people. And the people will bring their own devices to it to run it.
Yeah, that's incredible because giving people the ability to do that and also having the proper incentives, for these people to do that, you will get that explosive growth. And I'm honestly just, so impressed with, how well you guys have thought this out, the incentive schemes, and also, the real world impact that your project, can have. It's very inspiring.
We are too. This has been probably my whole life has been building up towards this. But the last 3 years, 4 years, when you know that you can change the way that the world works and you can reboot telecommunications, and you know that when you give it to the people, you're actually giving it to them to be part of their network, then yeah, this is special. It's a virtuous cycle of good, and that's really difficult to find. And it's a massive opportunity, right? Without it being profitable, without it being sustainable, who's going to host a node? No one. Only fanatics, only fans, and then that's not ready for mass adoption, right? Or mass inclusion. So, you give back a lot of the money to the network. People are paying disproportionately already. There's SIM cards being sold in villages that have no signal in them. Can you believe that? That's how much people want to be connected. That the shop has a SIM card being sold, or credit being sold via vouchers, via cash, so that people, when they finally do find signal, so they'll walk
They'll
2
be ready.
kilometers, 3 kilometers, then they can use the internet, and then they'll quickly jump on. It's so expensive. They'll do whatever they got to do. They'll speak to their family abroad. They'll quickly browse the football scores. They'll do whatever, and then they'll close down and they'll shut their phone into airplane mode and the battery off, and they'll wait until they get home, and then they'll use that. And that's the life of someone that doesn't have connectivity. They're desperate for it and hungry for it. So they'll pay for it, and they'll pay even more when it's meaningful. And that payment, that economy, rolls straight back into all of the nodes. And that's how you keep this sustainable, not by being greedy, but by sharing. The opposite of all the existing mobile network operators and big tech companies.
So how can people there afford some of these mobile devices and computers? With things are often lately things have been getting a lot more expensive because of supply shortages. Or do a lot of people there actually have the ability to be connected? Do they have the devices to use these networks? And what percentage of people do?
Okay, so here's what's interesting. So if I bring a 5G device or a 4G device or a 3G device to certain parts of the continent where it is connected, I may not be able to connect. I may need to have a different device. So old telephones working on CDMA or 2G or 3G might not be able to connect to a cell tower that's been put there. We use Wi-Fi. It's backwards compatible. It works. It's simple. It's efficient. So these devices that people are buying, eventually we see a need for GSM. We see a need for the existing spectrums, but it's a hybrid. We want to deliver for the cheapest and let people connect to the best of their ability and for the most effective way. So yeah, we don't envisage a problem where people won't have the devices to connect. Right now, we're seeing a penetration rate in the villages of around 50%, 55% of mobile phones. And what was even more interesting is as our teams go in to build the air nodes and to lay out these villages, the villagers are saying, look, here, take this $400 and drive to the local town and buy me 3 phones, please. Right? And they have money. They have no way to bank that money. They have no way to make that money more money. They have no way to, they don't have the access to those devices. But you walk into a village and you'll see people have phones that are $50, $30 smartphones, very, very cheap. And then you see all of a sudden an iPhone Pro 11. You're like, okay, cool. People want phones just as much as we. They want access just as much as we do, right? So if given them an easier way, and what's more compatible than Wi-Fi? I'm sure the Wi-Fi Alliance will love me saying that, but Wi-Fi is incredible for compatibility. Why? Because it's an unlicensed alternative spectrum. It's not licensed. So GSM is licensed. They want to make as much money from you as possible, as much money from every implementation as possible. The money's not to be made there. Yes, our world mobile network may be one of the most efficient and profitable margins of any telecom companies that's ever existed. But that won't be simply because it's selling data and voice. That will be because it's opening a brand new world with digital ID to a host of services and marketplaces where people will be able to shop, because they'll be able to come online, they'll be able to have insurance, they'll be able to bank, they'll be able to spend, they'll be able to make their money into more money. And as people grow, I mean, imagine a whole continent 80% of it being disconnected, sub-Saharan Africa, let's talk about 80% of it disconnected out of 1 billion people, and they're still thriving. Imagine what happens when you give power and you give connectivity and you give identity. I mean, I don't think I need to explain, but it can be crazy.
So how will these DIDs actually be stored on the Cardano blockchain? Will they just be metadata? What will that look like to the person that is actually using the DID? Do they just have a hash that's relative to the transaction, or
it's as easy as making a telephone call, making a purchase, or sending an SMS? It's sort of integrated into the stack and made to be a seamless experience. You're not going to have mass adoption or mass inclusion by having hashes at the end of stuff or having really complex addresses.
Yeah.
So the user experience is really beautiful, and the user doesn't even know unless they want to. And then you can switch in advanced mode, and you can start to take the full benefits of the world mobile.
So, are there any other continents that you guys are looking at past Africa?
We have proof of concepts that will be running in Asia at the beginning of this year. Very large proof of concept. And we're also looking at 2 places in Europe. But again, it's all about demand-driven networks. And when the demand is the highest first, that's how you're going to get a sharing economy to work. I could be egotistical and say, look, I want to go into get 10 million customers now, 20 million customers now. We could probably do that in the next 2 to 3 years. But what's sustainable about that? What, me sending out our technicians to go and fix each site that has a problem? Me being responsible for everything? It's not sustainable. You can see growth can't happen like that.
So how do you connect it continent to continent? If I wanted to set something up here, for example, would that be possible in the future?
We'd have to, first of all, come into the country. We'd have to buy a mobile network operated license. So this is possible. Yes, absolutely, because anybody else can. We'd have to speak to the regulator and say to the regulator, look, we're trying to use spectrums that you haven't potentially regulated. Can we use them as a trial? Can we use them as commercial? Please tell us. And then if they said yes, this was possible and we were able to come in, absolutely. This is, America's definitely on our list. There's no doubt about that. This is not just an Africa-centric model. It's just who is got the open mind? Where does the oligopoly have the least power? They have the least power where they can't go. So let's go where they can't go first. Let's build there. Let's show the example. Let the people of Africa stand up and say, we have our self-dignity. We have our data. We have our rights. And then I think then regulators and governments and people will say, hey, I want what they've got. I really want that, right? And that will be different. Right now, it's a vision in our team's head. It's implemented on the ground in feasibility studies. Facebook, Microsoft, and Google have proven that you can go and connect the unconnected. But we need to show that vision, and we need to show the rest of the world what can happen. And then I think it will be a movement that potentially, will go everywhere.
Yeah.
Independent of me as well.
Yeah, especially with the incentives. Can you tell us about your recent partnership with the Bansen protocol?
Sure. Bosun are super cool guys.
Is it Bosun, not Bansen?
Yeah. No, but Bosun protocol. So they're de-commerce, and it just makes a total sense. It's an alternative way to transact commerce, make no middlemen in the way, and very efficient. And we hope to work with them to release something in the next 3-4 months in East Africa that will be a demonstration of what can be. And then as we move forward and we bring on tens of millions of customers, they will all be able to access e-commerce, which is a much better, more efficient, again, not controlled by an oligopoly way of transacting.
Where do you see World Mobile in 5 years from today?
Man, I see it being the dominant mobile network operator, powered and controlled by the people, integrated, cross-chain, cross-compatible with everything, and providing a brand new world for everybody that chooses to use it or back it or run it as a business. I think that this can be as big as anything else on the planet, and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now if I didn't. This is a huge, huge challenge, but it's a challenge that we can take on. It's a challenge that our team have done. We've all built the different elements, and we're aligned by one thing, right? And that's you connect the unconnected, you bank the unbanked, you change the world. You when every other person can speak and communicate in their own free time and afford to with the other people, man, the world's going to change to a much better place for sure. Politics, relationships, prejudices, all those things will slowly start to disappear where we can speak to each other. There's not many of us that are bad, right? Many people said about Airbnb as an example, no, I wouldn't invest into Airbnb. 300 VCs they went to because the VCs assumed that people were bad, right? That people would steal from their houses. It would never work. How would you give? They didn't. So as more people get connected, we'll realize that the world isn't as bad as we see, and actually the control that the oligopolies have on the people will definitely become less as we can communicate with each other as you know, as people.
Learning more about this project, I'm very inspired in the same ways that I'm inspired from Cardano. Living in a first world country, because of all of the bureaucracy, I just don't see us trending towards a direction of more privacy or more rights or more freedoms. But
Opposite.
yeah, just quite the opposite. I see us trending towards the opposite of that. And your project and Cardano as well. They're kind of what gives me hope. To see people out there providing proper incentive schemes to have people all join a network and kind of start a movement and also help people around the world at the same time. I mean, it's incredible, man, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here today. Is there anything else that you'd like to speak about that we didn't go over today before we hop off here?
Really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it. I know it was hard for us to connect a couple of times. I hope I can come on again. And there'll be lots to speak about. We, as I said, with the film crew are waiting to come to Tanzania and Zanzibar to show everybody what we're doing, to actually be a witness. There's too much talk in this industry. Too many people not advancing this industry. There's people like Charles Hoskinson, John O'Connor, and the whole IOHK crew, the Cardano Foundation. I'll go around to give them a big shout out. There are, but a lot of people are just talk. We're about to show. Believe nothing of what you hear. Believe everything about what you see. And we're just about to show people connected. We're about to show this transformation, and we can all be part of that. And thank you very much for giving me the chance to be on your show to talk about it. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's no problem. And I agree with you. There is kind of a lot of talk right now. And that's why at the beginning I was almost speechless, learning more about what you guys are doing. And then also, how quickly that scope is coming. And, a lot of these projects that, are announced on the Cardano 360s or Cardano with Africa, I mean, they're years out, or partnerships with African countries with Cardano, those are all years out. Those are things that are going to take a lot of time before we see, the fruits of that labor. And just all being so soon is amazing. But I would love to have you on again. And this was kind of just the general introduction. And now that I'm inspired, I'm going to definitely dive more and more into your project and, probably make a video going through, some even deeper details. But again, thank you so much for coming on. And if you guys enjoyed this podcast and you made it till the end, type in World Mobile down below. I'd really appreciate it. It shows that you made it to the end, and click that like button if you haven't already. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Goodbye.